So, who here has a question about what we're going to be talking about tonight? Everybody else knows what a kinky note is. That's good. Goodwin's going to go first.
You can start with mine.
Yeah. There we go. Get another. He was probably planning on batting wrap up, but he's going to go first. So, I have a late good friend of mine. His name was Don Jack, and we were sitting around, probably at Del Taco at breakfast one day, and he said, you know, in you and I, he says, we don't do normal missionary type loans. He says, you know, it's sex, right? There's people that just like missionary sex. You know, the lights off, the guy on top of the girl, and that's it. And in, out, and you're done, and roll over and go to sleep, right? And the vast majority of people are that way, I think. And then there's this other division of people who are into diverse and kinky things, and you don't know what they're going to do in the bedroom, but it can be a lot of fun. And he said, you know, in the real estate finance world, the vast majority of people save up their money. They put 20% down or 10% down. They go to a mortgage broker, they get a mortgage, and that's how they buy houses. He said, but you and I, we do kinky things. We'll structure deals that make sense, and they're not missionary by any means. So, tonight's class is dedicated to kinky notes and kinky real estate acquisition. And with that, I'm going to let Goodwin do his. He got one, I got two.
And the title of this session came from Andy, not from me. and I'm not quite sure how to segue my presentation into some form of kinkiness, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so maybe set some foundation and basis first. Who understands what a note is? Kind of raise your hand. Okay. Someone want to go ahead and volunteer what you think your interpretation of a note is? Yep, go ahead.
It's a lien on, if you borrow money for a property, that note puts a lien on that property by the people that you borrowed the money from.
Okay, did everyone hear that? So basically, a lien on a property, you're borrowing money, that paperwork is secured against collateral, depending on what kind of collateral is, could be a deed of trust, could be a mortgage, could be some other form of security, but basically against a promissory note, which is a fancy IOU, right? Okay, let's go ahead and just kind of quickly take a look and see what you guys think about this. Okay, so you can see there's two columns. One has a note that's not backed by any collateral. And just as the example was brought up, another one is secured by collateral. Okay? The other one has no interest rate. The other one has an interest rate. And just by a show of hands, what kind of interest rates are you seeing out there for home mortgages? Just kind of blurt some numbers out. 7%. Anything higher?
Sure.
Yeah. We will routinely at our exchanger session, we'll go ahead and do higher ones depending on what the collateral is, depending on what the terms are, things like that. No maturity date. And the other one has a clearly defined maturity date.
What's a maturity date?
Okay, so Andy asked, what is a maturity date? That is when the note, the payment is due.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So who all is interested in this first column? This one all the way on your left.
If it's for me,
For you?
yeah.
Okay, raise your hand.
You would take that note in the transaction.
You will take that
Oh,
note.
no. I want you to take the note.
Okay, so no one wants this on this side, right?
You got a pointer.
That's what I'm hearing, right?
Possibly.
It's got a little red dot thingy there. Figure there you
Let's
go.
see. This side right here. No one's interested in that, right?
No.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay. Show of hands. Who's interested in this one? Okay. Everyone reach into your wallets, pull out your denomination of a dollar bill, and look at what it is that you have right here. Yep. That's your dollars at work. It's not backed by any collateral anymore, right? Not backed by gold. Hasn't been backed by gold since 1974? Two? Yeah. Okay. Is there an interest rate on any of those dollar bills?
No.
Nope, not at all. Is there a maturity date?
No.
Nope. Okay. So that is currency. This is if you look on that bill, okay, you'll say in God we trust. Okay, it doesn't have the words everyone else pays cash, because that is cash. Okay, what does it say?
Promissory note.
Federal Reserve note.
Full faith and promise.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone in here has and probably has a note in their pocket. They just don't realize it. Okay, and these other notes that we do on the right-hand side, these are the ones that we normally deal with on a real estate basis. But there is room for the ones on the left as well. Okay, because that's what everyone wants, right? When you're going into a sales situation, you want to buy a property. What is it that they're asking for?
Money.
All cash offer, right? That's the easiest way to do it. This is what they're asking for.
Missionary.
Yeah. Okay. My presentation, and again, I apologize. I don't know if there's any degree of kinkiness involved. I will let you guys try and figure that out. But I'm going to talk about how notes can be used to purchase properties. Okay, who has been to our exchanger sessions? Yeah, quite a few. Okay, this is from very recent, January 22nd. Okay, this was not a deal that was done. You can see, but just by the black arrow. Okay, so let's interpret this. Omero has a first position note for $150,000, 360 months, 9.9% AM, which is amortized. If it said IO, that would be interest only. This is a mobile home on land with acres in Texas. Okay, so I made an offer of a hypothecation. Hypothecation is basically, I will give you some amount of money as a loan towards the note. I'm not buying the note. It's not a partial. It's a loan. And what's the difference between buying a partial and doing a loan?
For who?
It's collateralized against the...
Yeah, hypothecation as a loan is basically the collateral is the note, which is in itself is secured by other collateral. Okay, but there's something else. Okay, if you do a partial sale, that's a taxable event. So that seller of the note would be taxed on the income that they have on that partial sale. A loan, you're borrowing the money. You don't get taxed on that. Okay, so my offer was, I will give them the first half of the payments for $75,000. I'll give them $75,000 for the first half of the payments, right? So $150,000, I'm offering $75,000 for the first half of payments. So 180 months worth of payments. Everyone got that? Okay, so how does this interpret or translate into the financial calculator? So again, we have 360 months, 9.9 rate, $150,000 amortized. Okay, if you have the calculator on your phone, this is a good exercise to go ahead and do, just to go ahead and familiarize yourself. Be forewarned, this is a warm-up because you're going to see more of this on Andy's presentation. And I have to give a shout out to Andy because he actually did a presentation.
That's a pretty rare thing.
That's because he's doing a Kinky presentation.
Okay, everyone caught up with this so far? So because I have 360 months, 9.9% rate, $150,000, and I know it's fully amortized, if this was interest only, what would this be over here? If it was interest only, it would probably be this number, just the other sign. So a positive $150,000. So we know because it's fully amortized, that last one is going to be 0. Okay? With those 4 out of the 5, I'm able to calculate that. Okay? Good warm-up for using the financial calculator. All right? You'll want to go ahead and do this for the other examples we're going to have tonight.
That's it, scare 'em.
Okay, here's my offer, and this is how we translate this one. Okay, so again, my offer was I'm going to give Homero $75,000, half of the note, which is $150,000, for the first half of the payments, and half of 360 is 180. Okay, so 180 and $75,000. And if we solve for what this yield now turns out to be, look at that, 19.78%.
And that's because you took the first half, right?
That's because we did the first half. Okay, but that's not the focus of this. This is just to go ahead and get you to understand what it is I'm about to go ahead and do with this note. Okay. So, with your calculator, because let's say this deal actually went through. So let's say I was able to get 180 payments of $1,305. What is that amount? $234,952. And I made it especially large so that way I could see it even on that back screen.
That's awesome.
Okay. How much did I pay?
75,000?
$75,000. And I'm getting almost $235,000, right? How many people like that deal? Yeah, pretty good, huh? Yeah, as Pete would say, good enough.
Or Jimmy would say good enough.
And Jimmy's would say what?
Good enough.
Good enough. Okay. All right. So many people's careers basically use this technique and just stay there. But wait, there's more. Okay. And hopefully if I've done this stuff correctly, you'll agree what potentially could be used is going to be even better. All right. I recently came into a situation where we could have potentially done a seller finance deal. And I'm only going to talk about the seller finance portion. So there was equity of about $165,000. Okay. And if we basically just use the calculator to figure out how many payments of $1,305, right? That was the monthly payment that I had on that note, would fit into this, it's roughly 126. Okay, and you know, a few dollars short because I need 165,000. Okay. But if I were to use this note for that seller finance portion, I still have payments left, right? I still have 54 payments. Oops, wrong button. I still have 54 payments of $1,305. I still have $70,000 left. Okay, what's the nice thing about this? Okay, a seller could have gotten 126 monthly payments of $1,305, almost $165,000, what their equity was. How much did I pay for this note? $75,000. Okay, this exchange session was January 22nd. Okay, this $165,000 came up, what, in the past 2 weeks? I'm looking for Fernando. Yeah,
Right there somewhere.
it was like within the past 2 weeks, right? Okay, so very, very recent. Okay, so let's say 1 full month went by and I was able to parlay this $75,000 into $165,000 down payment and still have $70,000 left to collect at some future point in time. Okay, was that a good deal?
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
smart.
that's a pretty good deal, right? $75,000 leveraged into $165,000 with still $70,000 coming to me. Okay, what does that yield look like? And Andy, you can go ahead and see if I did this correctly, because even I was not sure.
Looks good.
Okay, so let me translate this calculation. Oops, wrong button. Okay,
No, it's not.
one here for 1 month, 1 full month. Okay, $75,000, how much I paid for the note, and what I was able to get from it. Okay, and again, 0 over here. So this is what I got as my return
I would have
if the deal went through.
structured it the other way, but I get the same yield.
Okay, 1,430%.
Good enough.
How many people would like that deal? Yeah. Okay. Usually I'm a former IT guy. Usually I will go ahead and do these presentations for creative finance. I think other than my name and my contact information and a slide that says questions, that's it. Okay. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit more because you can see what you can use with a note. You can see what you're going to offer with a note. Okay, you get enough of these in your pocket, maybe one note by itself is not going to be enough. Maybe you can put 2 notes together because now you have to meet a certain monthly payment, things like that. Okay, can you structure a deal with a bunch of these notes knowing that you basically got them all at a very discounted rate, already high yield by themselves? Okay, you didn't have to go ahead and do these kind of deals with them. But under the right circumstances, you can leverage that even more. You can use these notes to go ahead and buy properties. And if you buy those notes at a discount, you're essentially buying the property at a discount too, right? Yeah.
For using that equity. Hey,
Okay.
Goodwin, can you go through step 2 to step 3 one more time?
Step 2 to step 3. Okay, what do you consider step 2?
Step 2 was when you sold it.
This step 2?
The seller
That's step
finance?
2, yeah.
The seller finance? Okay. All right. So there was, or still is, potentially, this is something that I'm still trying to work together. And since I'm talking about this, I'll also put in the shameless plug that I need money. So those of you who have $200,000 plus to act as a bridge lender, willing to go ahead and do this for 11% and 2 points, come see me afterwards. This is still potentially a live deal. So we have a property that potentially we can buy. And I will go ahead and just give you some high-level numbers. $565,000, $400,000 worth of debt. That $400,000 debt, we could, if this creative solution went through, we could have potentially taken that one subject to. Okay, that's not the purpose of this particular session. This session is to talk about that seller finance portion, $165,000 worth of equity. How could I pay for that equity? Because everyone here knows I don't have $165,000 burning a hole in my pocket. So looking at what I have available as my resources, I have notes. I have lots of notes, all different denominations, payments. So could I creatively put something together that would work for this particular situation? Okay? So I just pulled an example that potentially I could have gotten. I could have used one that I actually did. But again, this deal did not fully happen. So this is basically just an example. So you understand where the $165,000 came from. It's the equity left on that property that we want to buy. So how am I going to pay the $165,000? Okay.
And when you call that equity, though, isn't that just future cash flow?
That's the equity in the seller's property. Everyone understand that? That's the equity that that seller had in their property at this point in time.
Don't define it using that term.
Define using the equity.
Define equity is equity.
Okay, so the question basically is, what is equity? Okay, so how many people here own property? Okay, quite a few, right? So the value of your property right now minus the amount that you paid for it, that difference hopefully is going to be a positive number. I don't think there's too many people who have a negative number at this point. Now, it wasn't that long ago, probably the same number of hands could have been up, and then there would have been negative equity. Okay, so everyone understand now what equity is, right? That's the positive balance, theoretical money, right? There's a saying in real estate, you can't eat equity. So this is just plain money. It's money in your mind. Okay, so the seller want to know if they can get that money at this point in time. Okay, if you get this as the funny money that we used in our earlier example, no non-interest bearing, non-collateralized, if you had that kind of money, okay, what would you do with it? This is something that Pete likes to talk about a lot. Okay, everyone wants cash. So Pete says, okay, a year from now, I will come visit you at wherever you're at, and we will see this cash maybe in a nice glass case, under a nice spotlight, and you will still have that cash, right? No, I'm going to spend it. Okay, what are you going to spend it on? So you really don't want cash after all. You only want what cash actually allows you to get, right? It's just a mechanism for making deals happen. One deal after another. You go to a restaurant, you pay for food, you just made a deal. Okay, so what's one way that I can go ahead and discount this? Okay, if I'm paying all cash, what kind of discount can I get? Do I say to the seller, okay, hey, if I don't pay for this on credit, if I give you all cash, you give me like a 10% discount or something like that? No, this is the amount that they want, $165,000. Okay, so how do I come up with $165,000 legitimately that works for them? Okay, I will ask them, do you need this money all up front? And I will explain, because I'm not a licensed real estate agent, I will explain why it might work out better for them to receive monthly payments instead of a lump sum payment. Anyone want to go ahead and take a guess as to why monthly payments might be better than a lump sum payment? Taxes. Yes. Okay. So what's the difference if you do installment sale, paying taxes on whatever 1305 times 12 is versus doing this lump sum? Yeah, you only pay the taxes on the amount you receive in that calendar year. So whatever that 1305 times 12 comes up to, that's the amount of taxes that would be considered taxable that you would pay taxes on. Okay, if you receive all this, you will potentially pay taxes on that entire amount. Okay, and to some sellers, that is something you want to bring up. What are the advantages of being able to do an installment sale? That sufficiently answer this part?
Yep.
Okay. And you got this, right? This is just the balance of what I have left on the note.
Should have tried 140. So, I'm sorry. So if I'm understanding
What?
correctly, you're giving them half the money basically, and then the rest you're it's like you're paying them in payments?
So my offer to that seller, if it got to that point, I will say, okay, I will pay you $1,305 a month for the next 126 months, and you will get that amount. In fact, if I'm really negotiating with the seller, or the seller is really negotiating with me, so well, this amount is slightly under. I really want $165,000. Well, tell you what, how about if I pay you, because you're doing this on installment sales, how about if I pay you $180,000? Do you think the seller would like that? Yes. Yeah, I know if I were in that position and I didn't understand this stuff that I'm teaching you right now, I would like that. $180,000 versus $165,000. Good. What did the $164,000 cost me? $5 grand?
He's probably thinking that's for the down payment,
Yeah.
right?
If you're looking at today's dollars in order to get that amount,
He bought the whole note for 75, and when he stopped with when he got it back, he still had 70,000 coming. So he only gave up $5 grand.
yeah.
We can't hear you.
So again, $234,000 was it? That's what I got for my $75,000 investment, right? I could afford to give a little bit away because it still only cost me $75,000. Okay, so am I making the seller even more happy at that point? Yeah, because they got even more money. And this is what you can do overpaying, because they named their price, you name the terms. Did I just not name the terms at this point? Yeah, I did. Okay, so you can run this through the calculator for whatever amount you are okay with overpaying with, and then seeing this return would obviously go down a little bit. Would you still be happy with that if it went down to only 1,000%? I would hope so.
So you're showing the 164,430 as one payment, but you're not going to receive that 164,430.
I'm not receiving it, that's correct. I'm using it as a down payment, so in a sense, I'm receiving it